Hi everyone, good evening and welcome back to Thorough Newspaper Analysis. Today is the 6th of July and this entire video series it's brought to you by LawSikho. So now let's head to the agenda for today. The first segment for today's discussion would be the editorial segment, and here we talk about this article which is titled as The Power to Block. See here essentially the author is trying to refer to the judgment of Karnataka High Court on takedown orders to Twitter, and he's trying to say that this judgment it speaks in favor of expanding the arbitrary executive powers. So, what are the reasons that the author has cited for the purpose of substantiating this proposition? That is going to be our scope of understanding for today. The second segment is the news update segment, and thirdly, we talk about important legal developments of the day. So, with this, let's dive into this particular article and let's start with the why of it. See, this entire development goes back to the farmers' protest, and here we need to understand one thing that social media it can play a very important tool for the purpose of freedom of speech and expression, and we saw an example of this or a physical manifestation of this in the farmers' protest. We saw how farmers were alleging that the mainstream media is not reporting the ground reality or is not bringing the truth in front of the entire nation, and therefore they made extensive use of social media platforms, intermediary platforms like Twitter, for the purpose of addressing the nation one on one. As per certain reports, the government it issued notices to Twitter for the purpose of directing it to take down Twitter accounts, not specific tweets, but Twitter accounts altogether of certain accounts which, as per newspaper reports, pertain to information with respect to the farmers' protest and also how the government handled the entire COVID-19 pandemic. Now, Twitter was directed to take timely action, but it did not do so. So, as a couple of events unfolded, it eventually the matter reached the Honorable High Court of Karnataka by virtue of petition by Twitter. The Karnataka High Court recently ruled against Twitter and has in fact imposed fines against the company. So now let's understand as to what are the reasons that the author is cited for the purpose of saying that this judgment it is pro executive action or executive power, or it is expanding the arbitrary executive power. So the very first limb, the core of first limb of author's argument, it is that there is an absolute lack of disclosure of specific content in the judgment that the government directed Twitter to block. So the author is trying to say that this is a noticeable feature of the judgment that there is lack of disclosure of specific content that was directed by government to be blocked. So when the judgment does not make any reference to the specific tweet, the Twitter account, or the web link or the URL of the Twitter accounts, then how can it ascertain the legality of the censorial action? How can it ascertain whether the tweets that were directed to be blocked they were violative, whether they fell within the procedural formalities, and whether the takedown order was valid in law or not? So, by avoiding mention of actual content, any examination as to the legality of the censorial action, this is unusually avoided. Hence, the author is saying that it is very surprising when the judgment holds that the court is convinced of the contention of the learned ASG that the blocking orders they are reasoned decisions and they are found on the stronger footings of law, of fact, and of evidentiary material. So the author is trying to say that how can the court say so when the court has not made any sort of reference with respect to the very core, the very subject matter of this entire dispute. Secondly, the author is trying to say that it cuts through the spirit of the Supreme Court's recent judgment in the case of Madhyamam Broadcasting versus Union of India, when it stated for filings made in a seal cover, a court should undertake an analysis of the possible procedural modalities and means that are less restrictive. Evidently, no such analysis is available within this particular judgment. The third and the fourth limb of the author's argument is stated here. So the author argued that beyond its silence, the judgment speaks in favor of cementing and expanding the executive power at a high cost to the fundamental rights. And here are the three broad reasons for that. The first reason is that this judgment has held that the power to block, it includes the ability to block entire accounts rather than individual tweets without prescribing a higher legal threshold. See, one of the very principal arguments of Twitter against this entire the government's takedown order was that these orders they suffered substantial procedural infirmities. Why there was suffering of substantial procedural infirmities? That is to say that the government did not follow the procedure because, as per Twitter, there is a procedure that is laid down in Section 69A of the Information Technology Act of 2000 and also under Rule 8 of the blocking rules. And this was discussed by the Supreme Court in the case of Shreya Singhal as well. Essentially, this particular section it provides that if the central government is satisfied that there is any sort of piece of information on any of these intermediary platforms which hampers our sovereignty, integrity, the security, friendly relations, and all of these grounds, then these information can be ordered to be taken down. That is the crux of 69A. Another argument of Twitter was that the government can, you know, pass an order for taking down a specific tweet, but it cannot order the taking down of the Twitter account altogether without having any sort of regard to proportionality. What does proportionality principle say? That you give that sort of, or you inflict the punishment proportionate to the harm or the offense that has been caused. So if without any sort of warning or without seeing whether the Twitter account is a repeat offender, whether it is doing repeated violations of the Twitter or the platform guidelines or the laws, how can you order takedown of an account altogether with it without specifying any specific tweet? So that is what the author is saying, that the judgment it is held that the power to block of the government it includes the ability to block an entire account rather than blocking an individual tweet. Secondly, the author is saying that the court goes for expansive interpretation, disregarding the doctrine of proportionality and presumes bad faith on the social media user. The court also holds blocking orders need not mention reasons in writing in order to avoid legal contest. So that is also been frowned upon by the author. And he also says that the judgment says that the union government does not need to provide a notice to the account users if the social media company is informed first. So while the court states that no one had complained against their accounts being suspended in courts, it is only logical that they need to be aware of the cause of the suspension first. See, the judgment essentially said that none of those account holders they've come to the court saying that I'm aggrieved by the fact the government has ordered the takedown of my account. So therefore, the author is countering that line of reasoning by the court by saying that if the government has not issued any sort of notice, so how would they know? How would they come to the court saying that they are aggrieved by this action? So that's all we have for this editorial, and now we proceed to the next segment. And now this has brought us to the national news category for today, with this being the first update. Ajit Agarkar is the new chief selector of India men's cricket team. The Board of Control for Cricket in India, also popularly known as the BCCI, it has appointed former India pacer Ajit Agarkar as the chairman of the Senior Men's Selection Committee. This particular decision it was taken by the three-member Cricket Advisory Committee. As far as the composition of the Senior Men's Selection Committee is concerned, it now consists of Mr. Ajit as the chairperson, and the following are the members. Shiv Sundar Das, we have Subroto Banerjee, we have Salil Ankola, and we have Sridharan Sharath. Moving on to the next update in the field of sports for today. India wins SAFF championship title for the 9th time this year. A glorious night in Indian football history, it unfolded on a terrific Tuesday at the Shri Kantirava Stadium in Bangalore And the reason for this historic moment was that Blue Tigers, they defeated Kuwait on penalties to claim this year's title in Bengaluru. In the submit clash of what was the biggest and the most competitive championship ever, Gurpreet Singh Sandhu's winning save it etched India's ninth subcontinental title, adding another chapter to the nation's regional supremacy. Vartika Shukla she has been conferred with the Business Leader of Year award. Vartika Shukla, the chairperson and the managing director of Engineers India Limited, was donned with the Business Leader of the Year award at Downwards Downstream India Awards at the Global Refining and Petrochemicals Congress for the year 2023 that was convened in New Delhi. This award it is conferred in recognition of the chairperson and the managing director's extensive contributions to the evolution and the development of hydrocarbon sector. Next update comes from the state of Rajasthan. The Rajasthan government will bring a bill in the next assembly session for the purpose of increasing the punishment of those who are involved in recruitment exam paper leaks from the current tenure of 10 years to life imprisonment. In March of last year, the Assembly passed a bill providing for imprisonment of up to 10 years and a fine of rupees 10 crore for offences such as government exam paper leaks and cheating in such recruitment tests. This entire development, it was the after effect of the paper leak. So in September of 2021, REIT level 2 examination it was cancelled owing to the paper leak. This exam essentially is the recruitment exam which is conducted for the purpose of recruiting teachers in government schools. And this has brought us to the international segment for today, with this being the first update. So China's Qu-Dongyu, he has been re-elected unopposed as the head of the Food and Agriculture Organization. He was the only candidate who was standing for the role of FAO Director General, and he received 168 out of 182 votes in a ballot in Rome. He is a former Chinese government minister who was nominated for the post by Beijing. He will now serve a new 4-year term from August 1st. By profession, he is a biologist and he was the Vice Minister of Agriculture before taking over as the head of the UN agency in the year 2019. Moving on to the next update in the same segment, NATO agrees to extend the Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg's tenure. Stoltenberg he will serve another year as NATO Secretary General after the member states they agree to extend his term as the military alliance continues to confront Russia's invasion of Ukraine, according to a statement that was published in NATO's website. Stoltenberg's tenure, which has been extended until October next year, it has already been prolonged 3 times, and he had previously made clear he intended to step down from the role this year. Several countries they were eager to pick a woman candidate to head this particular organization, but the bloc's member they were unable to agree on a successor. New Zealand becomes the first country to ban plastic produce bags. New Zealand is the first country to ban thin plastic bags which are used to purchase loose fruit and vegetables in supermarkets. The ban it will also extend to plastic straws and to cutlery. The government began its campaign against single-use plastics in 2019 when it banned plastic carrier bags. The 2019 bag ban it has already prevented more than 1 billion plastic bags from being used in New Zealand, and the new ban on thin bags it will add to a further reduction of 150 million bags per year. It registers hottest day ever recorded. The planet's average daily temperature it has climbed to 17.18 degrees Celsius. The milestone it comes just one day after the global average temperatures dropped 17 degrees Celsius for the first time in 44 years when the data was first collected. The previous record of 16.92 degrees Celsius It had stood since August 14, 2016, which was the warmest year ever recorded. And this has brought us to the last segment for today, with the only update coming from the High Court of Madras. The Madras High Court has held manhandling of IT officials during minister's arrest not an internal disturbance. Courts cannot direct centre to invoke Article 355. So, dismissing a plea seeking its intervention to invoke Article 355 and Article 352 of the Indian Constitution in the backdrop of Tamil Nadu Minister Senthil Balaji's arrest and the alleged manhandling of the IT officials, the income tax officials, during the search, the High Court ruled that the High Court, under Article 226, it does not have the power to issue directions to the centre, the union government, to invoke Article 355 as it is a part of the policy decision which is to be taken on part of the executive. The division bench, it said that any such direction, it would also be in violation of the theory of separation of powers. The name of this particular matter is Varaki versus the Secretary and others. Also, on this particular matter, which is the entire matter involving the minister Senthil Balaji's, and also the notification that was issued by the governor's office from the state of Tamil Nadu with respect to his dismissal, and the later order which kept the dismissal at abeyance, we've covered this entire matter in one of our TNAs. So, in case this matter interests you, I would highly encourage all of you to go back and visit the same video. So this has brought us to an end of today's TNA. In case you want to get access to the free study material that LawSikho curates or the TNA slides that have been used in this video, please feel free to join our Telegram channel. And for the very same purpose, you may scan the barcode here or you may click on the link which is provided in the description. The quiz link, it has also been made available in the description for your kind consideration. Please go ahead and attempt the same. Thank you for being with us.